This is the mistake that makes beginner drawings feel a little bit off, even when everything else seems right. It's really easy to think the goal is to draw something perfectly right from the start, but that's not actually how professional artists work. We build our drawings in layers, starting with a simple foundation and gradually refining as we go. And that foundation, those simple shapes, is what holds everything together. Without it, the structure can feel off right from the beginning. So in this lesson, I'll show you exactly how to do that as we draw a cute bee and a flower together. So I'm starting with my living watercolor canvas. You can find that in the description below along with the tools we'll be using. I'm also going to get a little example which I will provide for you as well. You can download it. So I'm just going to go to my photos here and drag this over so I can see what we're going to work on. All right, so these are our shapes. So this is how we start with this structure. So I'm just going to be using my sketching pencil that's found in the Character Design Academy. And I'm just going to go and look at this bee, and we can start with the simple shapes that make up the bee. So we'll start with the simple shapes that make up the bee. So you can see there's circles and ovals, or almost teardrop shapes, and we can start with a simple circle. So you can either just quickly do like a little rough circle like that, or since we're in Procreate, we can do a nice perfect circle. You just hold it down and just size it up and down, just move it from side to side. Okay, and then we're going to have another overlapping circle. And it's going to be slightly smaller. And if I need to move it, I can just tap on circle and just move it. And there we go. So this makes up the little bee's body. So I'm just going to keep marking out where my wings are going to be. So here, I'm just going to have a little wing here. Just these simple shapes. And then you'll just see this little back one here. Okay, very simple. Now I'm going to start to connect things. So this bee obviously isn't going to be in two sections, so we'll kind of select that, just kind of connect it together in a soft shape. Here we're going to see this wing come in front, this wing will be behind, and this little one will be behind as well. So we can take our eraser, if it makes it clearer for you, just kind of get rid of some of that. Although his face, we'll leave that circle like that for the most part, to kind of allude to it. All right, and then we'll have little feet, kind of like that. And that's wonderful. Okay, so then let's bring a circle, because you see this circle like this, but then a circle this way, a line. It's going to be the center line of the face. And another one like this. So we're making it into a sphere. So then we can kind of place where we want our eyes, our little face to be. So we're going to have cute little eyes down here, nice and low. Maybe a little smile, keep it cute, keep it simple. And here we can start to do the little stripes. So maybe do little bands here. Maybe just two sort of thick ones. So this will be dark here. This will be dark there. And then he'll have little antenna. So kind of come up. So these lines are sort of following the shape of that sphere. So you can kind of understand where his antenna would be placed. So here and here, just above his eyes. Maybe we'll make them a little bit thicker like that. Maybe that one be a little bit lower because the perspectives would be a little bit lower than this one. Okay, give him little eyebrows maybe. You can make his eyes a little bit bigger even if you wish. That looks a little cuter. Okay, and probably have little, cheeks we'll do later. Okay, and maybe these feet, I have them sticking out like this, but maybe they would be more like he's flying, you know what I mean? They'll be kind of flapping behind a little bit. Maybe that would make a little bit more sense, that they're kind of going with the breeze. That's sort of cute. Okay, But see how we developed that just with some simple shapes overlapping, and we were able to get a cute little bumblebee. If you want, you can have a little stinger out the back. There we go. So I'm going to keep him on a separate layer just so I can move him around and size him up and size him down just while we create the rest of our picture here. So let's create a new layer and we'll do our flower. And you can see here our drawing. This is another little thing. When you're building a composition, I know we're talking about shapes a lot, but this is important just to see how the shapes connect. So you can see here that this flower is leaning towards the bee in this nice circular motion. All these elements are bringing it around. So it has your eye goes in a circle here, containing it within the structure of your canvas. So that's what we want. So let's just try to duplicate that. Actually, my bee might be a little bit low here, so I'm just gonna pop them up. Like I said, at least we can move them. This is the wonderful thing about digital art. Okay, so let's have this curve. So we see this dominant curve here. It's almost like directly right at his face, right? Okay. And then we're gonna have a circle. Actually, it's an oval because it's on its side. So you can just draw that and you can hold it down if you wish. And then we're gonna have all these sort of teardrop shapes, but this one is foreshortened. So that one I'm gonna focus on first. So it's nearly a circle, but not quite. So just sort of rough it in like that. I think a funny shape here. Let me try again. Something like that. And then these ones are just these teardrop shapes like this that you're just going to repeat around just on different angles. You don't have to have quite as many petals as this. You can just sort of see what fits. Just draw simple teardrop. You can draw the whole thing if you want. So that they're all connecting and coming together into the center here. All right. Just keep it loose at this stage. Just the biggest mistake is that thinking that you're going to be perfect right off the bat. Keep it messy, keep it loose. It creates a lot more freedom in your art. You just slowly but surely build it up. My petals might be a little bit shorter than I had wished for. So I can just keep going around, making those a little bit bigger. Okay, that's good. And then we have all these details of these leaves. So this is a dominant one here. You can see it's curving over quite a bit like this. Now what I've done here is a teardrop. Now even in the teardrop, you could have a circle here if you really want to break it down into little bits. You can do a circle and then have a point like that. And then you just have the point at the end as well and have it curve here. That's a nice leaf shape. A little bit more dynamic than just, that. A little bit more form to it. So let's try this again. Have this little stem coming out so we can draw a little circle here. So it's a teardrop shape. And then the points at the end that connect. Okay, good stuff. And then we can add some more, just a little bit. So having some variety in shapes and sizes is a nice way to bring some more visual interest to your drawing, even when it's cute and simplistic like this. It's filling in these spaces. It doesn't have to look exactly like my original little drawing here. Just see what little happy things happen and see how it kind of comes together. So I'm finding that my shapes are a little bit too far away. So actually, let me just look back and see the proportions. I'm thinking that I would like my flower to be bigger. So I'm just going to take my selection tool with freehand selected. I'm just going to draw a selection around, go to my arrow. I'm just going to size it up. This is the great thing. We can do all these little edits before we actually do our final work. I just have my snapping and magnetics on my settings here, so I'm just going to change that so I can freely move this. That also created less space in between the leaves and the flower, and I prefer that. So I make sure it's still curving towards the bee, and I can make sure, obviously, I can do the whole thing and make sure we have that working as well. Okay, let's carry on, and I'm just going to do these little extra bits here, and filling in that space. Just simple little shapes. Okay, and then we have a few extra bits here. So I'm going to look at probably the more dominant sort of swoop here. Start with that just for placement, and the secondary one here. And then I have my circles off of that, and the little centers. And then from there I can start filling in just these extra little leaf shapes. Okay, and then just a little extra bit. Again, it has a little bit of the size, makes it have even more texture, I think. Just having that change in scale, and that helps fill that out. All right, and then this just a little extra bit over here, again, it helps your eye from going off the page, brings it back in, especially because it's curved back towards your bee, so it really helps your composition feel really balanced. So just do sort of a very soft triangle shape. It's going to be looking at the back of a flower, so the inside would be in here, and just a few little swoops like that. That's all you need. And then we have a few little extra bits, so we have a nice little swoop. If I can do that a little smoother, that would be cool. So do it a couple of times until you get the hang of it. And then I did make the shapes of a heart, but if you know how to draw a heart simply without using shapes, then go for it. Or of course you can do 2 circles and a V, and there's your heart. So however you like to do it. I like mine to be a little bit more stylized. By that, I mean more irregular, and that's good. So that just fills that area. Again, we're just keeping all of our composition moving around nice and flowy. Okay, I'm just gonna take these both. I'm selecting both layers. I'm just gonna size them down just so I have a little bit more space on my canvas here and move it more to the center. I like having the bounds so I can see where the page is, so I can copy that. I think my bee is still a little bit touch on the big side, so I'm just going to take him and size him down just the wee bit. All right, I think that's good. All right, at this stage you have a really great form and a structure to go off of and to actually create your artwork. So I do all of this work beforehand, and then I'm ready to go. So I'm not starting with my bee and being like, oh, perfect bee, right away. I do the work beforehand so I can make all my mistakes and it has more volume and more movement, I find, if you do this extra work before you start. Okay, so we can just get rid of this now because we're ready to work on this. So I'm going to just combine my 2 layers together. So I have one rough sketch layer. I'll just name that sketch. Okay, great. So then we can go and tap on the end and turn down the opacity so it's a little lighter so we can easily trace over. I'm going to create a new layer on top just by tapping on the plus sign, and we're ready to go. So this style is just going to be a simplistic style, nice and neat and sweet, but still sort of that Illustrator look. So I just have a darker brown I'm just going to use for my outlines. Again, I'm still sticking with the sketching pencil that is found in the Character Design Academy section of the Illustrator Starter Kit. And I'm gonna be at around size 20. So a bolder line, a little bit bolder line. We'll do more of a cartoony type of style. Okay, so we're just gonna start by doing some nice line work. Here, I think I'm just gonna go, I'm not gonna have it all perfect. I like my lines to be a little more rustic, I guess you would say. I'm just alluding to that there, and then I'm gonna have, this line actually will show that stripe there. Okay. It's a little stinger, it's little feet, oops. Okay, and then I'll fill these in using this brush, that's fine. Okay, wonder if we'd like a little bit of detail on these wings. You can do whatever you like. Maybe you want something a little swirly for veining, or you could leave them plain too, it's up to you. I'm just being a little bit lighter with my pressure of my pencil. All right, very good. Okay, so let's do the flower. So I'm just gonna have a little bit, instead of just having it, perfectly like little circles, I am gonna add a little bit of wiggle. Now that I've got my structure, I can add a little bit of personality to it. So I'm gonna kind of have these petals, just a little bit less stiff. Don't have to do much, just have a few wiggles here and there. You still want it to look a bit cartoony, so it's, a cohesive style, but we can add a little bit here. Okay, just making sure they connect, and I can add a little texture. I'm just doing little N's, like the letter N's, I guess, just upside down U's. Just these little bumps all around, and then I'll just create a little look of texture and a little interest. I'm going to do another row. I'm going to be concentrating on the bottom part, just because that automatically creates the look of more of a shadow, which is what we want. I'll be lighter around here. I won't miss it all completely. I'm just going to be a little bit gentler as I go towards the center, a little bit smaller, a little bit more far in between. It will look a little bit lighter, but still a little texture. Okay, I think that's probably enough. Okay, and then I can go, you know what, we'll add a little bit more detail once we turn off our sketch so you can see it a little bit better. So let's add a bit of thickness to our stem here. And I will make it so that this connects and has thickness. Same with where the leaves join. I want to connect to the actual stem. Maybe give myself a little bit more room here. Erase when you need to. Okay. And then you can do your leaves. practice doing nice flowing motion. You have your structure to trace over, so you know it'll look good. Also, you'll start to learn the shapes of things so you can do it a little bit easier freehand if you want, or in the future as well. So it's good practice, tracing your own work. Just I'm not having these touch. Either you intentionally have something go behind, you know, like that. You just don't want something that is like, you know, a leaf that's poking up right, like touching it, just the tip of it. It'll look really awkward and a bit unusual. So just be mindful of your placement. Okay, so that looks good. And then we just have these little bits. So these bits, we have the circles, so we can just do a very simple flower if you want. Just again, these little shapes, just your little teardrops around. Or you can keep them circles like that if you wish to. That would be a little style as well. I don't like how I finished that, so let me try that again. I didn't quite have enough space for that. There we go. Okay. Okay, and this can float. It doesn't all have to connect. It's not necessarily logical, but it will look nice in your composition. It doesn't need to attach. Looks kind of cute. Okay, so this one, we're just gonna have the stem, the back end of, you know, the base of that stem and where it attaches, then just have these little teardrops, sort of elongated teardrops, I guess, just fanning out like that, and that's the back side of the flower. Put in some leaves and then just some shapes for it allude to a bit of grass, and that's all you need there. All right, so we've got our hearts. And I was thinking this could be a dashed line, you know, that looks cute when that's going on, just show a little movement. So you can round this out a bit too. I have trouble getting my arm to go in that direction. So you can make it a little bit rounder if you want. Try to make them the same length if at all possible, as close as you can. Okay, and there we go. We have our line work done, so we can just turn off that sketch work. And I just want to have a few little details in the flower here, so maybe a few little veins, a few little lines coming this way, following the shape, following the direction of the petal. Okay, and then we can have a little detail here if you want. I don't know if I want to do too much more than that. Just on the bee, I was kind of considering maybe doing sort of like a bit of a crosshatch. Now, I'm just experimenting with this because I thought that might give it a nice textured element. We will color it in, of course, but this just might be subtly shine through and just have a little texture. So let's just give this a look here. Yeah, kind of like that. That should work out nicely. Okay, so we are ready to color in. So let's go and we'll just rename our layer here and we'll just say line work. Great. Okay, so tap on your sketch so we can create a new layer above so it goes below our line work, and we will just start to fill in. So let's just pick out some colors that work nicely. So of course we're going to get a yellow, so I'm just going to drag this over to a yellow, maybe like that. I'm just going to go and grab this monoline brush. It's at the very end of the single samples section. Let's just see if that, I think that's pretty cherry. Maybe a little, we'll start a little bit lighter so we can do a bit darker, maybe still a little bit lighter. Okay, that's good. If you're wondering what the color is, it's FFF3D8. If you want to copy that, welcome to, or pick whatever looks good to you. So I'm just going to color in. My brush is at about 55, 54, 55, and just whatever works to start to fill this in. We'll do a pretty simple little color scheme here. So let's just pop that in and fill. Make sure we're all filled up. And then I'll just do this stripe here. Okay, wonderful. So I'll just put this here, my brown here, so I can return to it. So I'm not gonna do black, but I am going to do something similar to, I'm gonna take that brown that I did and maybe make it a little bit more gray. It's still, well, you kind of need it dark, don't you? Let's just make it a hair lighter. That's probably gonna be good. So again, if you're wondering, this is the value A59C96. Pop that there, and let's just color this in. This way it's just a little bit softer, a little bit more cohesive, not quite so harsh with a dark black. So, and I also want the line, like my original line layer, to be the darkest value here. I'll just do his little feet and his little stinger there. Okay, so we can create a new layer on top, and let's just maybe grab a very light blue. So I'm just going to go to my blues and just see. I think that's probably right about what I want. So the value is EEF6FF. Pop that there. And let's just fill that on in. Not all the way. There we go. Okay. So that looks good. So why don't we actually just sort of finish him up a little bit while we're here. So I'm going to go to his body, create a new layer on top, tap on it, make it a clipping mask. So that layer is clipped to this layer, cannot escape it. We will go to this yellow, and I'm just going to bring in a little bit of a warmer color here. I'm going to get the watercolor. It's in the Flower and Botanical Masterclass, that watercolor brush there. It's around 20. I'm just going to warm this up a bit. Kind of like that. And then I'm going to create a new layer, tap on it, make it a clipping mask. So we have 2 clipping masks in a row. I'm going to go and get a purple color, just somewhere a little bit more blue maybe. Some neutral, sort of like that. And then I'm going to just give it a little shadow here. You can see how that just creates a whole other look. Oops, not that much. Just being really light. Now with this, I can change the blending mode as well. Maybe I just want it a little bit softer. I wonder if the shade is actually nice. Let's see, that shade is a little bit softer than what we had. Now, if I Want to blend this out even more, I can use my blending tool, or I can just go to the magic wand, Gaussian blur. And I'm just gonna blur that, just soften. I just want it a little bit softer. You see how that changes? So I'm gonna go, I'm just eyeballing it, doesn't matter what size, maybe 7%. That looks kind of nice. Okay. And then I'm going to do one more layer, tap on it, make it a clipping mask, change it to add, bring the opacity way down to about 30%. This is going to create a nice highlight. I'm just going to go back to that light yellow. So you can see that it's quite bright, really adds that glow. So give him a little glow on his head, maybe in the middle of his body, maybe just the tips of his feet a little bit, maybe not too much, but okay. I'm going to go to my blending brush and just still be on watercolor, and I can just blend that out too. I just want a little softer on his head. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Just like that. Okay, now he has a nice little glow. Now, I really have to do something before I go further. I'm going to go to the very top of my line work, create a new layer, and just go to absolute white and to my favorite sketch, or any of the sketching pencils is fine. And I just want to have a little highlight here. And make his eyes look a little bit more real. And then have a little highlight here. Like that. Much better. Okay. You can go to the original clipping mask layer that you started with, that yellow, and you can just add a little bit of pink here. So go to your red all the way to the end and just pick something in here. We're just going to give him a little cheek. So back to watercolor. Maybe a small brush. Mine's around 7. Let's give him a little cheek. I'm trying to make sure that this is somewhere around there. Okay. Little cutie. Okay, let's do the wings now. So we'll go to the wings, create a new layer, tap on it, make it a clipping mask. So you see the arrow attached to the wings. You can pick that purple again with the watercolor. My brush is going to be fairly big, around 30 or so. I just want some colors in here. So I'm just going to play around. So a little bit of purple. I'm going to take white just to lighten it up around the edges. Kind of just softens it. Maybe I can soften this opacity a little bit. Maybe I'm going to change it to 70, just depending on how dark you went. That's, you'll have use your discretion there. You can use this purple. I'm going to make it a little bit more blue. Maybe a little bit lighter over here. It's almost a periwinkle color. If you want to know the value, it's 9C9FE3. And let's see if this works. I'm going to go to the Flower Masterclass 2.0, the variegated edge brush. It's a nice watercolor brush. And be a little bit more specific in where I'm placing this. So I'm just going to have this so this one fits behind. I'm going to have it about 30. So that has a shadow behind. So we're kind of, making them not all one blob of wing here. So they're all separate. Maybe we'll do a little bit pink. Maybe you want to, let's just have, you can use a spray. Try that. Kind of maybe have it a bit bigger, around 30. Just do a little taps. You can bring down the opacity of the brush if you want, just really light. So it's not too heavy. You can see it's just giving it a little bit of texture. Okay, those are just all the little fun extra things. Now we can do one more layer and we'll make it our add layer. So create a new layer on top, clipping mask, so there's 2 connected to the wings. Go to add and bring your opacity way down to at least 30, somewhere around there. Get the light yellow again, and we'll go back to our watercolor brush near the bottom. And just give it a little, if it needs to be lightened up a little bit. a little bit of cheer. Okay, I like that. Very good. So I think our bee is done. Wonderful. So in fact, we can collect all these layers for the bee, tap on group, and then you can just name that bee. So then we can just kind of keep things organized and see where we're going. All right, let's create a new layer on top and we'll do our flower. So I kind of like this pink, so I'm going to keep that there, but I'm going to make it significantly lighter here. Sorry, I'll give you the value of the pink. It's FFDFE2. And let's just see if that works. Yeah, that'll be nice. It'll balance nicely with that. All right, so we can just go ahead and fill this all in with our monoline brush. Okay, you can create a new layer on top. We'll use the yellow again and just fill in the center. So then we have, some complementary colors here. All right, we'll create a new layer and we will find ourselves a green. So I'm going to go and make it kind of a bluer green because we're on the cooler side of things. So let's just see. Not too blue, but somewhere in there. Let's see. A bit too boingy. Maybe that would be nice. Okay, so that color is, let's see, CADAC6. All right, so let's just fill in all our greenery. Okay, so we can go back to our pink layer here and just grab that light pink and do the same for our little flowers here. And while we're here, we might as well do our hearts too, because I'm sure there'll be some form of pink. Okay. Lovely. All right, let's add a little bit more life to this. So while we're on our pink layer, of course, we can go ahead and add a new layer, tap on it, make it a clipping mask. And then let's go, and we can get this pink, but I'll show you how to do it. You can just go zoom down over here, maybe a little bit darker, just close to that. And then we can use our watercolor brush. Just give it a little dusting in here in the center. Okay, so that kind of comes alive a little bit. Oh, we haven't done our yellow bits in here either, so we should probably do that in a minute. Just a little bit on the base here, the back. It's probably a touch too much, but I still do want it fairly warm. And that's all you need there. We can go ahead to that variegated edge brush and just put some of these lines in here. So maybe your brush needs to be around 15 or so. You just want a few, just like this. Just gonna follow what you've already done. Okay, like that. These don't need much. These ones down here are pretty simple, so we can leave them. Now maybe we want these a little bit darker, something like that. Kind of fun. Okay, so I'm going to create a new layer, tap on it, clipping mask. So there are 2 clipped to the pink layer. Tap on the end and change it to add and bring it to about 30%. Go with that light yellow, go back to our watercolor, and maybe your brush is around 20. Just very lightly, maybe just some of the edges are a little light to them. Maybe a little bit in the center. Just so it's not all flat. Unless you want it flat, and that's totally fine. Okay, let's work on the yellow part. Now before I go, and let's just make sure we get these 2 little dots here. Just grab the monoline brush and fill those in. Okay, good stuff. So now let's create a new layer on top. Create a new layer, a clipping mask layer, so that it's clipped to the yellow. Take the yellow, just bring this over here and make it a little bit warmer. Watercolor brush. Just give this, where we did that shadow, a little bit darker. And we can also bring in this brown and just really little bit, just at the very edge. Just give that a little bit of color. And that looks good. That's all you need. Okay, so we're ready to move on, I think, to the leaves. So select your leaf layer, create a new layer on top, tap on it, clipping mask. And we have this green, so I'm just gonna go down and to the right. And still with that brush, we'll just give it a little depth here and there. Just add to the edges. We'll come in with a little bit of purple in a minute too, but just add a little bit. Be not perfect about it, just like that. Now create a new layer, a new clipping mask layer. So tap on it, make it a clipping mask. We'll just go grab a purple. I should have put it down here, but I will do that. I did have that periwinkle color, that somewhere around there. And just add a little bit of purple. We might want to add a bit of purple to our flower as well. Just bringing a little bit, and it's connecting these 2 as well. Let's just try to change that to shade. I think that was nice. A nice touch. Okay. While I have this purple, I am going to jump back to the pink. Now, you have 2 clipping masks here, so tap on the first one, create a new layer, and you'll see a new one appears. It's already clipped, so you're good to go. So still with that purple, just like really delicate, just barely whispered, like touching this to the actual tablet here, and it's just there. Just maybe a few on the edges where it's dipping down too. Okay, I like that. See how that's marrying it all together. I'm gonna change it to shade as well because I think that worked the best. Okay. So right, back to the very top layer, this purple layer that we did, this shade layer. Create a new layer on top. This is for your leaves, for your greenery. Create a new clipping mask. And let's just change that to add. Go to about 30%. Back to the yellow. And let's just give it a little highlight here, just sort of in the center. And kind of pick where. Right. And there you go. Super cute. So you can see how just those simple shapes created something really beautiful that has movement and volume and compositionally works well together as well. So just that extra little time, that extra little effort will really help improve your character design, your structure of any organic or inorganic elements. It's just really the building blocks to everything. So don't be afraid to start simple and build from there. And don't forget, you can find all the tools that we used today, the canvas and the brushes, in the description below. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.